I have here a commercial color wheel. It has all sorts of definitions on it, and it has a swivel, has 3 layers. So there's a front layer that helps you with a mixing guide, and on the back it has another mixing guide and more vocabulary on the back. So these are readily found at any craft store or painting supply or art supply. They're handy to have on hand because they kind of like a cheat sheet. And let me show you, let's just go around the wheel and review on a few terms. We want to first talk about primary colors. Our primary colors, most of you know this, but we have blue, we have yellow, and we have red, and they make basically this triangle on the wheel, okay? And then we have, if you mix 2 primary colors together, I'm sorry, I don't have, hold on, let's see if I can get this bigger. There we go. So if you take 2 primary colors together and you mix them, you will get a secondary color, and that's a 50-50. So half yellow, half blue makes green. And blue, half red make violet, not purple, violet. Half red, half yellow make orange. So we have primary colors, we have secondary colors. Only 3 secondary colors exist, only 3 primary colors exist. Now let's go to these guys in between. These are called tertiary colors. That is where you take half of a primary color and you take half of a secondary color and you mix them together, giving you a tertiary color. When you have a tertiary color, you have to state the primary color first. So this is yellow-orange, not orange-yellow. This is yellow-orange. And running around. So you had a box of crayons, you know, when you read the label and it said, you know, yellow-green. Well, it's because you had yellow and your green, you mixed it, and you get a tertiary color, yellow-green. Okay? Now, let's talk about complementary colors. Complementary colors are opposite on the wheel. They're just straight across from each other. If you take a ruler and line it up, you will have opposites. And these colors have a lot of pop, which is why people use them in commercial use quite a bit. You'll see sports teams oftentimes use these opposite colors. So we've got red, green are opposites. I'll do the big ones. The blue, orange combo, that's an opposite. And the yellow, violet, those are opposites. You can actually have yellow, orange, blue, violet, those are opposites. Blue, green, red, orange, these are opposites. So it's a nice cheat sheet because these are sometimes a little bit trickier to remember. But just depending, you can also have a color scheme called analogous. Analogous is where you just choose a few colors on one side of the wheel. So if I were to choose, say, the range of yellow, orange, yellow, and yellow, green, that would be my analogous color scheme. I mean, just choose 3 or 4 and you stick within those. That's called analogous. If you just choose one, and I probably should have started with this, sorry, monochromatic, it just means one color. So you would be using blue. Let's say if you used a monochromatic blue scheme, that would just be blue plus white, gray, or black. You could even throw in some neutral colors, you know, the browns and things, but you would, for the most part, be just using that one paint within its value scale. Okay, now let's look at value scales on the back. This would be a value scale of blue-violet. And you can scale it into many, many more sections, but that's just a kind of a little basic value scale of blue-violet, starting with a tint of blue-violet, a tone, and then a shade. Let's talk about what those are. Tints are where you take a white, please start with white, and then add the color to it, and you will get, you know, if you want to make sky blue or pink or really a creamy light yellow, those light hues, you're going to want to start with white and add the color to it, and you will get what's called a tint. It's just color plus white. If you want to get a tone, it is color plus gray, and you would make your gray to the side, or you can even make a tint and then add a little black to it. You will get a tone of red or a tone of red violet or whatever. A shade is where you take just the color and you add a little bit of black to it to your liking. I tend to start very, very light. I'll show you this in another video, but just a hair of black. You can always add more. It's really hard to take it out. So that is a shade, tint, tone, shade. What else do we want to talk about? There is also a color scheme called a split complementary, and that's where you would take, say, yellow and violet, and instead of using the direct opposite of the color, you would split to the side of it. So you wouldn't use violet, but you would use red violet and blue violet with the yellow. Okay, so it's kind of a cross, but out. You can use a triad, which is 3 in a triangle like that. So those 3. Any way you want to use the triad, let me move it over a second. So we could use obviously a primary triad. You could go blue, red, yellow, or you could go just the secondaries, orange, violet, green. You could use those as your triad. The point of this is the fact that it is very important that when you create a painting that you limit your colors, because if you don't, it comes off looking pretty busy. And quite frankly, when you're trying to make a painting look harmonious and unified, if you have every color known to man, it just winds up looking really zooey, and rather it can look very, I don't know what, I guess I don't want to say immature or someone, it just doesn't have a lot of training, but it's best if you really limit your colors. Okay, so choose a color scheme when you go to make a work. Allow it to limit you, but understand that anytime you take a color and you add white, gray, or black to it, you actually have this long list of colors, just like you have keys on a piano. I mean, there's a lot of different variations of that one color to choose from. So when you're just choosing 2 colors or 3 colors, you automatically have a whole palette of colors in which to work from. So it limits you, but it doesn't actually confine you. It's actually helpful to kind of choose 3 colors and then just work with those. So you just want to plan it out better. You know, don't come into it with a plan. So, okay, anyway, that's the color wheel. That's basically how this tool works. I will highlight a couple things. Again, that cheat sheet concept where, like yellow, if I add red to yellow, I will get this color. If I add yellow to yellow green, I will find something like that. It kind of, you can move these around, say, what would happen if I used blue green and added yellow to it? I would get yellow. Oh, I didn't mention, okay, so anytime you have a complementary color, I'll just point this out, it will always make a brown. So if we go to the opposite of blue is orange. It's not going to show me, is it? Let's go to orange and add blue. There's my brown. Okay, so anytime you add those opposites together, they will form a kind of brown. So I'll throw that in. All right, there you go.